Darlington, South Carolina. This is a Visa Race Break with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers from the Hollywood Hotel, more than halfway through this race, and Mark Martin currently your leader. And what a difference a week or a couple of weeks make. He, of course, with Roush Racing, and they've been taking their hits for engine problems. And we saw even earlier today with Jeff Burton, who has had a lot of success here at Darlington, having some problems and falling out of the race.
That's right there. The 99 car, he loses an engine right there early on like lap 32. But, you know, along comes John, and it happens to be Mark Martin on 117. He actually takes the lead away from Dale Earnhardt Jr. right there, and Mark is looking very strong right there. And a man who's got a kind of serious look on his face, Jack Roush.
So some members of your team can have problems. Mark Martin was second to last in Atlanta. He did finish last in Las Vegas, but he is currently leading this race. Can he hold on? And if you look at the top 15 drivers right now, there are 4, including Mark Martin, Roush drivers.
Well, I guarantee right now, there's only one thing you can do right now is run it as hard as you can and try to stay out there in the front, and he's a great one right now for doing that. And here's another guy right now who led early on, and that's Joe Nemechek. But to show you the difference in tires here at Darlington, on old tires just before Nemechek pitted, he was running like 33.50. He came in, put on new tires, came back out, he ran 30.76. That is 13 miles an hour's difference between old tires and new tires. That's the reason why Darrell and all these guys keep talking about the rate of closure with guys with new tires versus old ones, how much trouble you can get in, and how important it is to make sure you get in and out of the pit road in the right kind of sequence. Otherwise, you can lose a lot of ground.
Speaking of pit road, let's go down and check again more on the 25 car Joe Nemechek with Genie's Alaska.
And he's also a guy that has a pretty good race setup today. Just one track bar adjustment early on, and it has been a nice Sunday ride for Nemechek. He's saying now the car is a little tight right now, but word from his spotter and his crew chief, look, the car looks good. Everything looks beautiful. Mike?
Genie, I'll tell you who's coming right behind Joe Nemechek, and that is Dave Blaney in 7th place, but he's been closing fast on Nemechek.
Larry, I tell you, Hootie Barker's just got to be beside himself to go in there and take that team over, come from the Busch Series the way he did, steps into this operation here, and man, has he made a difference.
I mean, and it was a tough decision. I mean, he left the Busch, not only did he leave a Busch team, he left the championship caliber Busch team, Bill Davis and Scott Whitmer.
Hootie said, I wanted to be a Winston Cup crew chief by age 30. He says, I'm 31, so I got some lost time to make up for it.
He's making up for it in a hurry.
I tell you, talk about Dave Blaney, another car right there, that yellow car, Mike Skinner. I mean, he's been coming too. He's up to 8th position after starting back in 23rd. This race team, Mike Skinner, Larry McClure, the whole group, they need a good run. They only had one top 10 finish last year. It'd be great to see them close the deal here with a top 10 finish.
Skinner presently 8th, running 8 seconds off the lead. And right off the bumper of Jimmy Johnson, who's one down. Now, Jimmy Spencer has now dropped a spot to Dale Jarrett. That puts him back to 13th place. Matt?
Mike, he is fading fast. Spencer reports to crew chief Tommy Baldwin that we've lost the handle of the race car. Tommy told Spencer he thinks what they probably did was knock the toe out when he hit the wall. In fact, Tommy said he hit the wall pretty darn hard. We actually saw it on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that he has a lot more damage than it appears to have, and that's what's affecting the car.
Jeff Green right behind him. I'd put Jeff Green in a class with Dave Blaney as perhaps the 2 most underrated drivers in the Winston Cup garage. A lot of talent there, too.
Of course, Jeff Green's crew chief now, Mike Beam, had some good runs here last year with Ricky Craven in the 32 car. And as I said earlier, they were very fast in both the final practice sessions yesterday.
Dave Blaney has caught Matt Kenseth, who's backing up. Joe Nemechek just passed Kenseth the lap ago for 5th, and Blaney trying to take 6th there.
Sometimes, you know, we just had a round of pit stops. Sometimes you make the wrong adjustment. You go the wrong way, as we heard Kurt Busch talking to Jimmy Finney earlier, and you just start backing up, and you can't wait for that next round of stop to get it put back like it was.
Dick Berggren is in the point leader's pit.
Well, Matt Kenseth has been dropping back. He has gone back from 3rd to 6th, Mike. The problem with the car is that it's just a bit tight. He's having trouble picking up the throttle. When he picks up the throttle, the nose pushes out. But they are almost 30 laps away from their scheduled pit stop.
Saw crew chief and former Busch Series driver Robbie Reiser there. Back up front, Mark Martin with a 2.8-second lead on Jeff Gordon.
Well, you don't want to be loose here, because if you're loose here, you're going to wreck. But what happens to you go over the edge here, Larry, with getting the car too tight, then it won't turn. You won't wreck, but you won't go anywhere.
Well, that's the reason Mark Martin, we talked about it earlier, they've just been making small adjustments because we know now this racetrack is getting plenty of rubber on it, and that's going to tighten the race car up as well.
It's a momentum racetrack. You've got to be able to use the throttle as much as possible to keep your momentum up. When the car's tight and pushing, you got to be lifting out of the throttle a lot. You just don't go anywhere.
And what about the driver who led most of the last green flag run, Dale Earnhardt Jr.? Steve?
Mike, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is describing his race car as tight. Tony Eury Jr. said that's because the spring rate on these tires is different. That's why you feel tight.
And when you look in the car there, you see his hands going down the straightaway here, going down into turn 3. See him get the extra. See him get that right hand over there and get that other hitch. Really having to turn that thing to the left coming off the corner, and you can hear he's not backing the gas.
Now, what makes the spring rate on this set of tires different? Air pressure?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, Steve, Mike, Darrell, what happens when you get these tires from the tire company, they actually have rated this tire. I talked earlier about the tire being a spring, and they actually have the rate wrote on them. You work very hard to get matched set of tires where it don't differ, but you heard Matt Yoakum talking at the beginning of the race, how many sets of tires these teams go through. It's almost impossible to get every set the same.
Elliott Sadler's closed right up here on the back of Jeff Gordon. Jeff got in a little bit of traffic, and that's for a battle for second place right there. So our pole setter's having a pretty doggone good day. He finished second in this race last year, and he's proven it. He was not a one-lap wonder when he sat on pole, and he's all the way down on the apron.
And then moving ground. There's smart racing right there, Darrell. Did you see Jeff Gordon? Go to the inside. You're faster than me. You caught me. Pass me here.
You can't stand to have somebody on your back bumper. You got to get them out from behind you.
It's like the joke about the old bull and the young bull standing up at the top of the pasture looking down at all the cows, and he just waved Elliott Sadler by. Go get him, son.
Yeah.
I'll be down there in a minute. Things that go bump at Darlington. This is NASCAR on Fox.